Rumpelstiltskin always says that magic comes with a price. But for this price, you can get a nice piece of jewelry. Use code ONCEPOD for 10% off your first order at Unusual Magic Jewelry on Etsy. Click the link in the description. Hello, and welcome to the Once Again podcast. We are your hosts, Ashley and Jason. In this episode, we'll be looking at the 2009 animated short Prep and Landing. In this series, we won't be doing a deep analysis of the film or giving a bunch of behind-the-scenes facts, but rather giving our impression of the overall film and the songs from the film, although this movie doesn't really have songs in it. So bake some cookies, make some cocoa, hang those stockings by the chimney with care, sit back and enjoy this episode.
Prep and Landing is a 2009 computer animated television special based on an idea by Chris Williams at Walt Disney Animation Studios and developed by Kevin Dieters and Stevie Wormer-Skelton into a half-hour Christmas special. It first aired December 8, 2009 on ABC. The special was released online the next day along with an original one-minute short film, Tiny's Big Adventure. A sequel, Operation Secret Santa, aired on December 7, 2010, reprising the original cast with additional voice talents. The second half-hour Christmas TV special, Prep and Landing, Naughty vs. Nice, aired on December 5, 2011 on ABC, with another holiday special being planned for the future.
The film is written and directed by Kevin Dieters and Stevie Wormer-Skelton, and the music is by Michael Giacchino. It was produced by Dorothy McKim. It has a runtime of 22 minutes. It was distributed by Disney ABC Domestic Television. It had a budget of $14 million, or just over $18 million in today's money. And while there are no box office numbers for Prep and Landing, as it didn't have a theatrical release, the rating numbers were an overall 5.8 share, which means 5.8% of the homes in America watched it, with a 4.1 share in the target demographic of 18 to 49 years age. And in the raw numbers, it had 12.042 million viewers, making it number one in the time slot, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, number one for the night, December 8th, 2009, and number 13 overall for the week. On December 1st, 2009, prior to the first broadcast, Prep and Landing was nominated for 9 Annie Awards in 7 categories by the International Animated Film Association. It won 3 awards, including the award for Best Animated Television Production. On February 10th, 2010, Prep and Landing was nominated for 2 awards at the 8th Visual Effects Society Awards, winning in the Outstanding Visual Effects in Broadcast Miniseries, Movies, or Special category, and losing in the Outstanding Animated Characters in Broadcast Program or Commercial category. On August 21st, 2010, Prep and Landing was honored with 4 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Animated Program for Programming Less Than 1 Hour category. So let's dive right into the plot. We meet Wayne, who is voiced by Dave Foley, a Christmas elf, and he is part of an elite organization known as Prep and Landing, whose job is to ready millions of homes around the world for Santa Claus's visit. After working with Prep and Landing for 227 years, Wayne looks forward to getting promoted to director of the Naughty List. At the high-tech command center in the North Pole, an elf named McGee, voiced by Sarah Chalk, she is the North Pole Christmas Eve Command Center Coordinator, or NPCECCC for short. And she pairs the disgruntled Wayne with Lanny, voiced by Derek Richardson, who is an idealistic rookie who has an undying enthusiasm for Christmas to prepare the world for the annual trip of Santa Claus, who is voiced by W. Morgan Shepherd.
I think the idea of having some elite crazy team and all this high-tech stuff for Santa is great, personally. But I also and they never really say how many Prep and Landing teams there are, but presumably because of how they do this, there's one prep and landing team for each house that has a child, is like
Yeah.
the vibe I get. And I'm like, that is a lot of elves.
Yeah, they don't really give a stipulation that it's only people who believe in Santa Claus or anything like that that they do it for. It's just
They just
seemingly,
basically make it
yeah,
sound like it's for kids, but also it's clearly that they like it's not clear at the beginning, but I think later in the special it becomes very obvious that's like one elf per house,
hmm,
like one team, and it's that just seems like a lot of elves. Like, wouldn't it be easier to like kind of have the elves set it up and then move on to the next house? Like,
agreed. Or maybe each elf does a time zone, like they have a house in each time zone or something, and the
I
store,
guess that
yeah,
might work better then if they're
yeah.
like zipping off ahead of Santa.
But moving right along, the promotion to be director of the naughty list intelligence went to Wayne's sidekick Peterson. And this is something that deeply upsets Wayne because he trained Peterson. I have some experience
Yes.
with that in my own personal life, but let's
Did it hit too close for you?
let's stay out of that for right now, and we'll move right along. However, the duo of Wayne and Lanny get more than they can bargain for when a young boy named Timmy Turwelp, voiced by Mason Val Cotton, captures them in action, enabling Lanny to respark the spirit of Christmas in Wayne. My notes kind of skip ahead a little bit here, but basically he sees them. They send Timmy off to bed and try to get the house ready for Santa's arrival.
Yeah, well, basically, Lainey Bright brings up that, like, oh, we have to make sure that the kids are tucked in. So, like, that's what they're doing. But they should already be on the roof by now, like, prepping for Santa. And there's a giant snowstorm. So they, like, really should be on the roof already. So it's a problem that they aren't on the roof, basically, is the big issue.
Yep. Meanwhile, Miss Holly, voiced by Kasha Korpinski, she's Santa's assistant, and she gives a briefing back at the North Pole on the trip. And McGee gets word of a storm over Sector 7, where they are located, and utters, "Oh, frostbite," and calls out a code of figgy pudding, passing by Timmy's house. But Wayne decides to override McGee's call to pass by and visit the house. However, prep is lost when their tracking and landing device is lost in said snowstorm. So they improvise from a display using an inflatable Santa snow globe and save Santa's sleigh, say that 10 times fast, from, from disaster. In the end, Santa gives Wayne a snow globe with a miniature version of Timmy's house, and they can see him enjoying Christmas. And Wayne turns down a promotion to be in charge of the nice list intelligence.
Realistically, that man ain't turning down the nice list.
No, but
That man's been working the same job for 227 years. He's like, nope, I'm out.
yeah, it's interesting though that Lanny's bright eyes and attitude affect Wayne, and he's like, you know what, I do like doing this. I do like doing prep and landing. That's what I want to be.
Well,
So
even like we didn't talk about like Wayne is not helping Laney at first. Like he's literally talking to a Santa cookie,
yeah,
bitter that he wasn't chosen, like being
sitting,
like, I don't care. I'm gonna eat this cookie. Like he's
yeah.
just chilling out, ignoring the fact that Laney is not doing everything correctly because it's Laney's first house ever.
Mhm. And I also enjoy how when he's sitting there talking to the cookie, he's watching TV and he's like, "Oh, look, a Christmas special. Let's watch something else. Oh, another Christmas special. Oh,
Let's watch something
yeah,
else.
yeah." And like he's telling the cookie, he's like, "Oh, you want to watch this? Well, too bad. I don't. I'm on the naughty list now." Like it's a little funny. Also, Lanny graduated first in his class, and McGee says it was a very small class because Lanny can't even open up the door to get into her office.
That was hilarious for
Yeah.
Laney.
Yeah, there's some good humor. At this point, we normally talk about the songs. I did list the songs that are according to the soundtrack. However, the only one that I really noticed was the Christmas song performed by Nat King Cole.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the only one I really noticed. I think the other one was more like all the other ones are background songs pretty
yeah,
much.
and
There's no real like songs in this. It is a
yeah,
television short. So
right. And even that song it's just during the opening credits and then it gets cut off before it's even
yeah.
done. But I also put down some trivia. We could talk about it. Maybe I'll cut it. Maybe I'll leave it in here. just because there is no song section, and my
Yeah.
summary of it was very short. So, in one scene, Mickey's Christmas Carol is shown on the television of Lanny and Wayne's assigned house in tribute to John Lasseter's first stint at Disney, and Timmy Turlip's name is a tribute to Tiny Tim.
That's so interesting that that was John Lasseter's like first thing he did at Disney. I did not know that, but
Yeah.
considering he's such a powerhouse at Disney now, like John Lasseter does everything.
It is interesting. And then the next bit of trivia I have here is Santa's sleigh is codenamed Rosebud after the sled of Orson Welles' titular character, Citizen Kane. I've actually never seen Citizen Kane, but it's one of those things of pop culture that everyone knows, like how Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Rosebud is Citizen Kane's sled that he wanted back from his childhood or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. The go code for launch is dash away, and it's used before McGee authorizes the launch, as in dash away, dash all away. This one I found the most interesting. The latitude and longitude of Timmy's residence, which I don't know how to read out longitude and latitude, so I'm skipping over what it is, are actually the Walt Disney Company's world headquarters in Burbank, California. However, the site in question is in the Ohio Valley near Cincinnati, where it would snow a lot more than Burbank, obviously. Director Kevin Dieter's hometown is Quincy, Illinois, home to Dieter's Dairy. During a scene in which Wayne is quote unquote being naughty and making himself a drink, the milk carton Wayne is using has the Dieter's logo. The Christmas tree from A Charlie Brown's Christmas appears in McGee's office. A station wagon with the license plate 12501 WED is the birth date of Walt Disney, December 5th, 1901. The German Shepherd, who was in the prologue getting dusted to sleep, was a recolored version of the titular character from the 2008 film Bolt, which was completing production as Prep and Landing was being made. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. Like, and I've watched Bolt, so I'm surprised.
I never have, but I am familiar with what the character looks like. So, the image of Goofy used in Timmy's bedroom came from the poster for How to Hook Up Your Home Theater. Okay. The scene of Christmas Eve prep is all shot from an elf's point of view, which is why you never see Santa's face. The home of Timmy. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Did you have something to say?
I think that's just I think that's an interesting choice. I thought it was an interesting choice, the whole thing, to not show Santa's face, but
yeah,
I often think a lot of Christmas movies do that so as you just kind of keep kind of Santa in your heart, like he's not a real person.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned too before about how there seems to be like this big operation going on in the North Pole. That of course makes me think of Tim Allen's The Santa Claus movie.
Yeah.
Like and that movie, like there's so much darkness underneath it that we can get into when and if we cover that movie. But it's an interesting film to think about what's going on there. But
no, it definitely is. Like this is also this is more playful with the technology, I think, compared to the Santa Claus. I think that's much more.
Agreed.
Yeah. We'll get into that. You know, you said if we are covering Santa Claus, so
I was, giving the fans a little tease. But the home of Timmy, seen in the snow globe, is actually based on co-director Kevin Dieter's boyhood home, and a giraffe in Timmy's bedroom represents a plaything that one of Dieter's children played with. Okay. As Wayne prepares to enter Santa's office, Miss Holly is typing the lyrics to Jingle Bells. I didn't notice that.
I did not notice that.
No.
Yeah.
That's cute though.
I would say though, I do have one thing. We didn't talk about Thrasher.
Oh, yes, you're right. I completely left him out of my notes.
Thrasher is Dasher's cousin.
Yeah.
and he's like a brutal looking reindeer. And
Yeah.
Lanny goes up to him being like, I thought you were a myth. And he's just like, I am a myth.
Yeah. Thrasher was like all the humor in the movie previously, I was like, oh, that's funny. But Thrasher was the actual first thing that I laughed at, like him saying, like, I am a myth, and he's this big
I am a
imposing
myth.
reindeer. Yeah, that was the first thing I actually laughed at.
I do love Lanny the whole time being like, that's so tinsel.
Yeah, you're right.
You can tell this was a 2009 thing.
Mhm. Agreed. I'm going to go now into my overall score then. So I wrote down, well, I don't believe that I was the target audience for this animated short. The runtime, the bouncy animation, and the humor leads me to believe that this was made for families with young children to watch. That being said, it is very well animated. The actors do a great job voicing their characters, and this is something that adults can enjoy with their children. The elves gave me a Minions vibe, though they are not as annoying as the Minions are. And while this isn't exactly for me, I still give it a 7 out of 10.
I like this. It was actually I'm the one that suggested this, and I'd forgotten how short it was, but I like a lot of these like Christmas special shorts. A Charlie Brown Christmas is very classic
Mhm.
in that regard, and I think this is great. I almost wish it was longer. Like I wish this was a longer story about these characters and about their particular way of dealing with Christmas and Santa, because I think all the technology is interesting and I think the animation's great. I think if you give this a longer runtime and give it like a full theatrical like release going
Mhm.
on, I think this is excellent.
I
But I
agree.
also know that holiday movies like this tend not to do very well a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, I agree with your opinion about it. Do you have a score for it, or do you want?
I gave it a 7 out of 10 as well.
Okay. I agree with your opinion that if it was longer, it would actually be better. Like, even if it was double the length, and I think you could have scenes of like fixing problems that we criticized of it. Like, you could show Wayne and Lanny going to multiple homes and Wayne not helping Lanny. And maybe that's why they get behind schedule. And like, that causes the problem
Yeah.
at Timmy's house and everything.
I could also believe then, like, believe the fact that Wayne doesn't want to take that nice list job because if it's an hour long, then I can be like, okay, I respectfully understand that you've changed your mind in an hour. Like,
Mhm.
when it's this short, like, I can't sit there and be like, yeah, I believe he wouldn't take that job. Like, I don't believe that.
Yeah. But overall, still enjoyable. Not exactly for me, but like I said, we both gave it 7 out of 10s.
Like,
I
I watch it when it's on TV. If I see it, like, this is something I will stop and watch
mm,
if I'm like home when they're playing it on ABC. Like they do play it multiple times during the Christmas season. So if you're looking for something to watch with your kids, this is probably the thing to watch.
yeah. That's one of the things that in my research, I didn't put it in my notes, but it's one of the things that they air during the 25 days of Christmas on Freeform. So,
Well, yeah, Freeform's owned by
yeah,
Disney too, so
yeah, keep an eye out for it there, I guess.
definitely keep it out for ABC too. They'll definitely play it once
Hmm.
or twice, especially in the like week before Christmas when they really hunker down on the Christmas specials every night. You'll definitely get that at least once.
Yeah. Or if you have Disney Plus like us, check it out whenever you want. Anything else you'd like to say, or should I go into the outro?
And I would also watch the sequel to this. Didn't watch that one sequel, but I've watched Naughty versus Nice, and that's also fairly good. Similar runtime, similar.
Hmm.
It's very good for what it is. So I would say watch that too.
Okay. We'll have to check that out at some point. Maybe next Christmas. Or maybe Christmas in July, who knows? So this has been the Once Again podcast. Any questions, comments, or critiques can be addressed to our email at onceagainpod@gmail.com. Follow us on our social media accounts, Once Again Pod, all one word, on Twitter and Instagram. If you would like to contribute to the podcast, we have several tiers available on patreon.com/onceagainpod. As always, a like, follow, or share would be greatly appreciated. Thank you and have a wonderful day. And remember, we will entertain you. We will always entertain you.